Welcome to another edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. I'm Joe Ovius.
I'm Chris Clark. How's it going?
You're having what today, Chris? I think last week we had the pumpkin ale, which I found actually to be rather delicious. Today, what is on tap?
Well, once again, we're coming to you from Blinko's Sports Restaurant, Glenwood Avenue in Raleigh. Why? Well, last time it was just a little something fun, different to do. Then we discovered, hey, we like drinking beer. So we're back for another edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. I am rolling with the Carolina Ale India Pale Ale for this episode.
And I'm going with the Magic Hat number 9, which I can describe to you as fruity.
Somehow that fits you.
Yeah, about that. The jokes set themselves up. Kind of like the jokes were setting themselves up for Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, who apparently told us that he's a man, Chris.
I heard he's 40, too.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
This somehow, because maybe the subject matter between Mike Gundy and a columnist for the Oklahoman turned into a media versus a coach, fans. I didn't quite get the absolute hatred towards the media after Mike Gundy's rant.
Americans hate the media. It's a hobby. It's a pastime, much like baseball or college football betting. It's just one of those things that you have to accept if you're going to be in the industry. I'm not too torqued off about it. I just find the hypocrisy a little bit funny because many of the folks who were registering the most harsh opinions about a sports columnist being cruel to kids are the same ones who are cruel on message boards and say infinitely worse things. If you want to dislike the media, that's fine. Just understand you're probably a little bit of a hypocrite yourself.
No, message board users never admit to being hypocrites. What are you talking about? Then again, the argument can be made that us in the media, we never admit to being hypocrites either. But you know what? We'll call it a push right then and there.
And to celebrate that push, we felt it necessary to give you some of the highlights of the greatest coaching blow-ups we could find.
Thing about basketball, you're illuminating your relative lack of knowledge of the game with a statement like that. Let's just start all this again. Now, I'm not here to argue the thing with you. I'm not going to debate things with you and people from television. You know, you want an answer from me, you get the answer. You don't like an answer, then don't use the program, okay?
Sick and tired. I'm fed up with everything. No from you guys, no from you players. And they can do any thing they want to do. I'm sick and tired of all this bullshit. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Oh, you're absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. This is the kind of service that you get at Blinko's. Okay, so back to rolling that beautiful coach blowing up footage.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Those never get old. I knew there's a beer at Blinko's, to say the least. Whew. What are we going with here? Blue Moon? And you're going with the same, aren't you?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm a dude.
See, I'm sorry. I like to mix it up.
Fruit does not belong in beer, Joe.
Hey, on a hot day, even though it is technically fall, a wheat beer is very good. Germans were drinking nothing but wheat beer when I was in Berlin, so I don't want to hear it.
You don't look too German there, Jose.
Yeah, I don't think you got German Cubans very often. Anyway, we got some picking to do. Chris, what do we got?
That's right. Let's get to the picks. This week, we're starting off with NC State and Louisville at Carter Finley Stadium. Louisville coming off 2 straight losses to in-state rival Kentucky and, surprisingly, to Syracuse, one of the worst teams in college football. What will happen? Wolfpack's 1-3 and looking for a win. They're not going to get it. We're going with Louisville by a score of 48-28. The Xbox offense wins out.
That's the thing. This is going to be an interesting game because it's not like Louisville's defense is all that fantastic. I bet you Harrison Beck, injury permitting, he does have a bit of a bum knee, which he says is fine. Injury permitting, I think he can spark this NC State offense to getting some points. But the way the defense has been giving up points for NC State, whether it's through the run or even through the air, they've been giving up the flats like you wouldn't believe. Louisville is not going to have an issue scoring points at all. And the last thing you want to do with the Cardinals is getting into an Xbox score fest with them. Let's move on to the next game. Chris, speaking of teams that beat NC State, I think Clemson, Georgia Tech, actually a very important ACC matchup.
That's right. Clemson trying to established themselves as one of the best teams in the ACC. Georgia Tech wondering what went wrong at Virginia. Thanks to you, Chan Gailey, Virginia is 3-0 in the ACC right now, and that makes the conference look bad.
I mean, that is a horrendous thing. I mean, they basically had bye weeks against Duke and Carolina, and for what? They go to 2-0. They barely beat Duke. They barely beat for North Carolina, and they're 3-0. You've got to be kidding me.
And we're going to go with Clemson, 24-21 over Georgia Tech.
Although we do put a disclaimer on this pick.
Which is?
Georgia Tech has a tendency to win games like this, games that you have absolutely no confidence of them winning. They'll come out and spank Clemson, you watch. But, again, one thing Clemson does have as opposed to any other team in the ACC, they've got 2 more skill players that you don't, and that's good enough for Clemson. If anything, they're probably the best team in the Atlantic next to Boston College, but we'll have to talk about that game a little bit later on. What's coming up next?
Next up, we go from one Bowden to the other Bowden, Papa Bowden. And Florida State taking on Alabama. Neutral site game in Jacksonville, but don't be surprised if that crowd has a heavy Tide leaning. And in it, we're going to go Roll Tide, 28-16.
Are they rolling or are they bowling, baby?
Show me the clip.
Oh, God, we love him. Go bowling. Yeah, we bowling, baby. We bowling.
You know, I don't think she ever gets old. I could play that clip on a loop. I'd love it.
Here's to you, sweetheart.
Because you've had a lot of these. It's not a good weekend, by the way.
No, it's not.
Not
It's
a lot of
bad
top
weekend.
25 matchups to speak of.
But
so.
here is one top 25 matchup, and we're going to shed our East Coast bias and go out west to the Pac-10, where it's Oregon and Cal. Frankly, we think both these teams are pretty good. The only reason we're going to make a decision, mascots. And we take the Big O. Oregon and the Ducks win 31-24.
Are you basing this solely on the fact that one mascot can beat up the other mascot?
Oregon's mascot's already been suspended once for this.
Horrendous weekend for really big-time top 25 matchups. So, me, Chris Clark, and Dave Glenn, who could not join us today because he's currently, busy. Wouldn't you say?
That's what they tell me.
That's what they say. He's kind of busy doing a radio show while we're off gallivanting and drinking beer in the middle of the afternoon. Now, we figured, what was the one game that you couldn't pay us? Even if you give us the best seats in the house, 50-yard line, couple rows back, you get everything on the field. The game that you couldn't even pay us to show up to. That one game would be what, Chris?
Well, for a lack of really good matchups, we decided to go with a really bad one. And it's Arkansas Pine Bluff versus New Mexico State.
Arkansas Pine Bluff? I didn't even know they had a football team, to be honest with you. But, hey, are they Division 1A? Or are they Division 1 AA?
No, they're FBS.
Oh, I had no idea. Shows you how much I pay attention to the Arkansas Pine Bluff world of football.
Roll, Pine Bluff, roll. 16-3 over New Mexico State.
Now, what are you basing that on?
I just like Arkansas Pine Bluff.
You
as a
just
name.
like going for Stephen F. Austin because it sounds a lot like Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Yeah.
Or the $6 million man?
Or Austin P.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget about Austin P. I forgot about those guys. Anyway, that's going to wrap up another edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. We'll be back next week. We might switch it up. We might go to another bar. Who knows? All I know is this, Chris. Blinko's, we like it. Waitresses are very nice. The beer is cold, and they have a good variety. And frankly, they put up with our crap to show up here and film Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater.
We're always more accommodating for people who accommodate us.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.